For part 2 of our Project XC race bike recap, we're going to talk about the cockpit, and that includes a Ritchey bar and stem, ESI grips, KS LEV dropper post, a big noisy bus, and a Syncros FL saddle. Starting at the front, the Ritchey WCS Trail 35mm handlebar comes in at 800mm wide and obviously a 35mm clamp diameter, hence the name. This is a big step up from the trail products that they had just a few years ago when we did our first Project XC bike. So the clamp diameter has gotten fatter and they've gotten a lot wider. This one has a 15mm rise and 9-degree back sweep, and it comes in at 210 grams. What I like about these is they have the light weights of cross-country products, but they're way more durable and ready for the big hits of a trail bike. And so for this, it's total overkill. It's a little bit wider than I would normally ride for a cross-country bike. I would probably want to cut these down to about 770 for this type of bike. But one of my favorite features is that despite the stiffness and strength, it has just a little bit of give at the ends. It's really hard to see on video and capture because you're getting the give of the tire and the fork as well, but there is just that tiny bit of flex at the ends, and it helps take the edge off of whatever this stuff down here isn't handling. One of the last cool features is the stem's 220-degree opening. So instead of being cut right in the middle and the faceplate and everything meeting halfway, this one has cut on a bias toward the front so that even if the stem were to work its way loose, it's still able to kind of hold the bar in there a little bit. Now, if you hit something big, it's going to pop out, but it's just a tiny bit of safety measure, helps keep everything in place when you're putting it together too. On to the grips. ESI had just launched their Fit SG foam grips, which have a taper design to offer a little bit better bar feel around the levers, but there's more cushioning on the outsides, which ends up under the meat of your palms. So for me, this made sense for the race because I wanted something light, I wanted good grip and control over all the rocky sections, but I wanted a little bit more padding. I don't think anything would have made up for the lack of suspension I had on this bike, but they were very comfortable. Great grip on the downhills. I never felt like I was going to lose my grip. They never slipped and they never moved from the time I installed them. For the dropper post, I originally requested a KS LEV CI, which has the carbon lower, but when I got it in, I had asked for a short travel one, something with like 80 mil of travel, because this is a cross-country bike. I don't need a ton of drop on this. But unfortunately, their short travel ones also have really short lower shafts. So by the time I had it installed, there simply was no way of getting it high enough and still meeting the minimum insertion. So I ended up pulling 150 mil travel LEV off of another bike that I had, actually 125 mil, and installed that. So the nice thing is, the levers are all interchangeable between their posts. They all attach underneath with a simple cable clamp system that is actually not quite as simple to get installed, but once it's installed, it's easy to remove and swap between posts. So you could actually have a lever mounted to all of your bikes and just one KS post and move it between them if it was the same diameter. As far as the performance goes, the action was reliable and I've had no problems with this post in terms of going up and down. The only issue I did have was the saddle would slide back throughout the race, and by the end of the race it was pretty much butted up against the back of the rails. I fixed it since, so it looks normal here, but it was annoying. And I did have it secured very tightly, so I think you could over tighten it a little bit without risk of breaking anything, but it's just something to be aware of. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the saddle because Syncros is in the process of revamping their entire saddle line, so this one may or may not be available much longer. But the Syncros FL series in general has been around, and I really liked one of their older models. This one showed up in the mail. I decided to throw it on because it's light, it was fairly comfortable, it's got good firm padding, but enough padding, and it ended up working out really well. So that's it for the cockpit. Check out photos, more words, and a little bit more of a recap on bikerumor.com, and stay tuned for part 3 where we talk about the wheels and tires.